Module2c, Understanding Sex-Trafficked, Commercially Sexually Exploited, and At-Risk Youth. A long-standing survey of Minnesota students offers a view of the prevalence of sexual exploitation of youth in our state for the first time.
Beatrice
Menento,
Minnesota Department of Health.
So in hopes of getting a better understanding of the prevalence of sexual exploitation among Minnesota youth, the Minnesota Department of Health added a question to the 2019 Minnesota Student Survey for 9th and 11th graders. We then partnered with researchers from the University of Minnesota School of Nursing to analyze this data. So this new question in the 2019 survey asked 9th and 11th graders the following question. It asked, have you ever traded sex or sexual activity to receive money, food, drugs, alcohol, a place to stay, or anything else? The data from the 2019 Minnesota Student Survey showed us that 1.4% of the youth who took the survey answered yes to the question that we added. This translates to at least 5,000 high school-aged youth in Minnesota answered yes to having traded sex or sexual activity in order to receive money, food, drugs, alcohol, a place to stay, or something else of value. It's really important to understand that this number is likely an underestimate of what the real number is for exploitation in Minnesota. And this is for multiple reasons. The Minnesota Student Survey is completed by students who are enrolled in school. It does not include youth who are not in school on that day of the survey, or, like many at-risk youth, do not attend school on a regular basis. Young people who do take the survey may also be reluctant to answer yes for many reasons. Maybe it's shame or fear. Unfortunately, not all public school districts participate in the survey. So for these reasons, not all youth who might experience the harm of sexual exploitation are actually accounted for. For example, only 66% of 9th and 54% of 11th graders completed the MSS. But while it's an underestimate of the true number in Minnesota, this information is critical to understanding how to better identify, serve, and work with young people facing sexual exploitation. The results from the Minnesota Student Survey provided us with empirical evidence of who is impacted by sexual exploitation. It told us that students of all gender identities and races reported sexual exploitation. Students from many different racial and ethnic backgrounds also reported experiencing sexual exploitation. So we learned how widespread it was, and it confirmed our understanding that anyone can be exploited or trafficked. At the same time, the data showed us that some groups of young people were more likely to be affected by trading sex and sexual exploitation. For example, youth in juvenile correction facilities, foster care, and unstable housing all reported higher levels of sexual exploitation. And American Indian and Native youth had higher rates of answering yes to the question than other racial or ethnic groups, as did those who identify as multiple races, as Black, African, or African American, and as Hispanic, Latino, Latina, or Latinx. So this data speaks to the value of a no wrong door response, that youth may present through numerous avenues and may not be directly presenting for trafficking. Each part of our system must be capable, ready, and willing to identify youth who may be at risk of being or already have been trafficked, however we might encounter them. And we want to remember that each intersection of harm augments both the trauma response in youth as well as the vulnerability to more harm, including trafficking. At the same time, strength and resiliency is crafted within these individuals. And while there are risk factors that intersect and we try to prevent or address those, we also want to pay attention to magnifying the protective factors that exist to protect, support, and empower youth. So the data from the Minnesota Student Survey in 2019, well, it confirmed what we have already known, that this is happening in Minnesota and that it's harming our young people. It's important for us to have this data. It lets us know the scope of the problem. It makes it clear that we must raise awareness about sexual exploitation of youth. We need to renew and improve our efforts to reach youth that we might not already be reaching. And we also want to work to empower youth to navigate the difficult situations as they grow up. And we do this while continuing to create cultural conditions that support healthy development, respect, and safety. With this data, we are beginning to be able to count what we were not able to count before, but what we knew was happening. But the end goal is not just to have a number. The goal is to create better systems of response and ideally prevention. It is important that with this data, we remember that it is an actual window into the lives and experiences of real people, of young people. Our youth should not have to navigate these difficult situations because people should not be asking them to. People should not be allowed to exploit the vulnerabilities of our children. And we want to work to prevent these vulnerabilities in the first place.
Practice quiz for Module 2, Content. Question number 1. Choose the best answer. Youth often get involved in sex trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation because A. Someone has developed a trusting relationship and is meeting needs the youth has, which aren't being met in other ways. B. Youth get in with the wrong crowd and just make bad choices. C. Youth see it as a quick, easy way to make money. The correct answer is A. Someone has developed a trusting relationship and is meeting needs the youth has, which aren't being met in other ways. Question number 2. Which is not a key finding of the youth focus groups completed by Safe Harbor? A. Youth want more information and support in understanding what healthy relationships are. B. Youth want real and comprehensive sex education. C. Youth want structure in residential care that minimizes choices they have to make. D. Youth want staff in congregate care to be non-judgmental and non-exploitive people they can turn to. E. A and B. The answer is C. Youth want structure in residential care that minimizes choices they have to make. This is not a key finding. Question 3. True or false? Recruitment focuses on the hierarchy of needs. Grooming may happen when an individual targets a victim, gaining the victim's trust, gaining control over the victim's environment and actions, and isolating the victim. A. True. B. False. The correct answer is true.